find that there is a long-term, large-scale series of prosecutions being contemplated and being pursued by the special counsel. Okay, now there's more evidence too, because they brought in some heavy hitters. Earlier in the week, they brought in a guy named Greg Andres, and I was almost did a story about that because it was so significant. But let me just quickly fill you in on who he is. He's a former Justice Department attorney who specializes in corruption and bribery cases, and he joined the investigation. Okay? His expertise is corruption, money laundering, and bribery. I wonder why they brought him in. Well, more from Wall Street Journal. This is very important. Mr. Andres, a former top Justice Department official who also oversaw the criminal division of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Brooklyn, wouldn't leave his private sector job for a low-level investigation, Mr. Zeno said. Zeno is another expert on this issue. So he works at Davis Polk. That is one of the top firms in the country. He makes a ton of money, this Andres lawyer. He's not going to leave that job unless you got a whale that you're trying to catch. You don't go to Andres and go, we're not sure if we've got anything. Why don't you interrupt your life and give up millions of dollars and come work on this, but probably we'll wrap it up soon. No. You bring in this heavy hitter if you think I need the best guy in the world on corruption, bribery, and money laundering. This is not just about, hey, did Russia hack some emails and kind of help Trump? There's a much bigger deal between Trump and Russia. And if you're wondering, Mike Flynn, you know how they were investigating him? That's a different grand jury. That's in Virginia. That doesn't have anything to do with this. This is about the president.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got...
Not yet, but it's close. Okay. One last one again from that Thomas Zeno, who's a former federal prosecutor. He says, this is confirmation that this is a very vigorous investigation going on.
Ladies and gentlemen...
No, but almost. Almost. All right. Now, you can see why Trump is antsy, and he's been angling to find a way to get rid of Mueller. Now that there's a grand jury, it would be even more clear obstruction of justice if he tries to fire the guy who just impaneled the grand jury at him. But you know, Trump, he'll be furious, and he might want to go after him even more now. So, if I wanted to ask you guys a question. If Trump fires Mueller, will Trump be thrown out of office? TYTnetwork.com/holyhell. And it's holy hell because Lindsey Graham famously said that if he tries to fire Mueller, there will be holy hell to pay. Now, that'll be up to the Republicans because they control the House and the Senate. But at this point, this ship has sailed, man. You try to fire the guy who's prosecuting you and has already impaneled the grand jury, and that is super obvious obstruction of justice, both politically, like obviously he's trying to block the investigation. You know why? They keep speculating, like, I wonder why he's doing it. Is he adverse to bad press? No, there's a much easier explanation. He's trying to block the investigation because he knows what they'll find. Because he knows what he already did. And meanwhile, the Russians, now that the sanctions did not get lifted and Trump was forced to sign it because they would have overridden his veto, he's still complaining about it today. He's like, oh, it was a terrible bill, terrible. You signed it. Oh, I can't believe Congress did this. Russia keeps sending threatening messages. Oh, this is a very weak president. It makes him look impotent. That's a curious choice of words. Then they sent this weird jousting video, which no one understands, which I think is some sort of sign to Trump saying, like, you remember what we have on you? It's called compromat. Okay? So look, it doesn't matter what my speculation is. We got a grand jury. So we're going to find out. Buckle up, and this time, Trump administration, brace for impact. The North remembers. Okay. All right. Now let's go to a much lighter topic. That one had to go first, and later I'll have more serious topics too on how he's doing in office, etc. So Donald Trump has just announced a vacation. Now, before I tell you how long it is, let me quote Donald Trump. This is, of course, before he became president. He said, "I would rarely leave the White House because there's so much work to be done. I would not be a president who took vacations. I would not be a president that takes time off. You don't have to take time off. Now, that was easy for that loudmouth to say when he wasn't president and he was criticizing Barack Obama. Okay, now that he is president, nonstop golf. In fact, I'll tell you how much in a second. But he just announced his vacation. You know how long it's going to be? 3 weeks. I would never take time off. Who needs a vacation? It's very important work. Oh, come on. I'm low energy. I'm running out of energy here, right? I got to go take a 3-week vacation. A 3-week vacation? In the 15 years that I've been doing the Young Turks, I've never taken a 3-week vacation because there's a lot of work to be done. And he's the president. Okay, but now let's get to the hypocrisy. Back in the day, this is back in 2012, he tweeted, President Barack Obama's vacation is costing taxpayers millions of dollars. Unbelievable. Okay. So, even before this official 3-week vacation, he was constantly going down to Mar-a-Lago. You know how much those cost? This is an unofficial estimate from the Los Angeles Times. $300,000 per trip just on Secret Service costs. That does not include the Coast Guard that goes protected. That does not include the local government's costs. These things add up tremendously. I want to play golf. I'm stressed out. I'm low energy. I got to go play golf. Cost you $300,000. That's not my problem. Okay. Back in the day, here he is in Obama's administration. He said President Obama is about to embark on a 17-day vacation in his, quote, native Hawaii. Such a jet track ass. Anyway, putting Secret Service away from families on Christmas. Aloha. Okay, what? In the middle of the summer when the Secret Service could be with their families, you're making them go away for 3 weeks? How could you, Donald Trump? His hypocrisy knows no bounds. All right, we're not done yet. Then let's go to another criticism that he had of Obama along similar lines, and this is about golf. He said, at this time in his presidency, this is media on the facts. Faith Gates wrote this. At this time, I almost gave it a Trump voice. Anyway, at this time in his presidency, President Barack Obama had only played 11 rounds of golf, while Trump has played 21. So what happened with the golfing is terrible. I can't believe Obama's doing it. Now, again, Faith Gates at Mediaite explains context. Although this is his first official vacation, Trump has spent 43 of his 193 days in office at one of his 17 golf courses. That's not 43 days off out of 193. That's 43 days specifically playing golf. And then there are other days off. Oh, I would never take vacation. I would work so hard. I can't believe Obama's taking time off. I can't believe he's playing golf like this. This is outrageous. Okay, more from this. Back in the day, he said about Obama, can you believe, with all the problems and difficulties facing the U.S., President Obama spent the day playing golf. Worse than Carter. That was back in 2014. I guess since you played golf, it's stunning. 43. I haven't played golf 43 times in my life. Okay, 43 times since he's been president. I guess you're way worse than Carter. Way worse. By the way, Carter was in a lot of ways great president. You should actually read the history on it, or maybe Google it. Peace in the Middle East, the deal between Israel and Egypt. Carter did it. Anyways. Barack Obama played golf yesterday. He goes on to say that back in the day. Now he has a 10-day vacation at Martha's Vineyard. Nice work ethic. Well, if that 10-day vacation indicated a poor work ethic, I guess your 17-day vacation at a minimum is a horrible work ethic. Just keeping it in context. And finally, Trump, in his book, Think Like a Billionaire, says, don't take vacations. What's the point? If you're not enjoying your work, you're in the wrong job. Indeed. And finally, just a fun little video for you guys. You remember when Donald Trump said this to Hillary Clinton? Perhaps it was a little bit of projection. Watch.
She doesn't have the stamina. I said she doesn't have the stamina. And I don't believe she does have the stamina. To be president of this country, you need tremendous stamina. You have so many different things you have to be able to do, and I don't believe that Hillary has the stamina.
If you're taking a 3-week vacation after having played 43 days of golf and you're only 6 months on the job, there's some chance that you don't have the stamina. You don't have the stamina for the job. I always knew that guy was low energy. Young Turks.
I'm super excited because we have different levels of members. They pay $10 a month, but there are some members that pay a little more. Executive producers, for instance. My favorite thing about executive producers is that we have quarterly calls with them. I love that I'm getting a little transparency and I'm knowing what you guys like and dislike, ideas on how to improve the show, topics that maybe we haven't heard of yet you really want us to cover. We have so much respect for you because of the fact that you keep us independent and allow us to be uncensored, unfiltered, without worrying about corporate sponsors breathing down our necks and telling us what we can and can't say. So if you want to be a member, obviously no pressure. You can go ahead and join by going to tytnetwork.com/join. I'm going to ask some uncomfortable questions. First topic that I said that we would discuss a little more is masturbation.
And then I was swimming in a hazelnut river.
Are you sure you're not doing mushrooms? Oh my god, I can achieve an orgasm by myself.
Fuck that, I am going to talk about it because there should be no shame on it. I think a lot about that because I love life.
That openness led to amazing.
And I keep saying to everybody, oh, I got to go call my wife. I figured that was a good excuse that people can't say, hey, don't call your wife. I'm going to release bliss.
It's so weird because at that moment I felt this and it smelled like lavender.
At the end, you get to go check. Nice job. If you're a member of the Young Turks, you too will rock the world. Hey, Jen, what's up? Aaron, did they change the icon for Vine? I can't find it.
We talk about TYT Army being so strong. Usually they help us run our show. Now they're going to help us run the country.
Like this.
It's time that we reclaim democracy for the people.
We had a huge victory for Wolfpack.
When Lincoln said this was a country by, of, and for, he said of the people, not of corporations.
Our representatives don't represent us. Whoa! Democracy!
United!
We are! Too strong! Stop this. There's thousands of volunteers, and you can be among them.
With Wolfpack, the mission is so clear.
Money is killing our democracy. 96% of Americans want it. When you get the power back, oh, that feels good. This is just the beginning. Just go get them, man. Up and at them. Knock, knock. We're coming for them! Wolf-pack.com. back on the Young Turks. Let me give you a couple of quick tweets here. Amber the Brave says, I don't have much faith in grand juries. They keep letting killer cops go. Why would they actually go after the president? No. It 100% depends on the prosecutor. The reason why the grand juries let the cops go is because the prosecutors don't prosecute. They turn into defense attorneys. We made one of the prosecutor in Missouri our jerk of the year 1 year because instead of doing his job, he impaneled a grand jury and acted as a defense attorney so that he could have an excuse. Oh, the grand jury let him go. So, but in reality, if a prosecutor wants, it's very easy to get a prosecution and indictment out of a grand jury. So, I don't think Mueller's doing this as a cover-up. I would be very, very surprised by that. And you don't bring in guys like Andres and 16 other lawyers he brought in to wrap up a case. You do it to pursue a case. Okay, so... And finally, Jimmy Brandon writes in, 4 words, Jenk. Whisper of a dream.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got...
Not yet. Okay. Look, man, I don't know if I made it clear enough in the first segment. A grand jury is a big deal. Okay. Now, let's go to other bad news for Donald Trump. And then at the end of the segment, I'll agree with him on something. What? Okay, Donald Trump, world of trouble. Not only is there a grand jury that was announced today pursuing the case on the Russia investigation, the special counsel's asked for that, but his poll numbers are absolutely disastrous. Now, literally from day one, I predicted that he would get into the 20s. And he started in the high 30s, low 40s, so it's not that bold a prediction. And since then, but people always talk about narratives of comeback, right? There ain't no comeback from Trump. He goes down and goes further down. Look at all of his businesses. Down, then further down, then complete bankruptcy. So we're in the middle of that trajectory downwards. So the new numbers, disastrous, and now we're finally nearing the 20s. This is a Quinnipiac University poll, very respected. 33% approve, 61% disapprove. That could be summarized in one word: disaster. Okay, 33% for a president is awful at any point in their administration. But 6-7 months in, you're already at 33%. It's almost a 2-to-1 ratio of disapproval to approval. Disaster! And the Republican senators have started to run away from him already. You saw Jeff Flake earlier in the week. His hair on fire, running from the building. All right, how's he doing among Democrats? Because sometimes there's a honeymoon stage and the other party will give you a chance. It's a very American tradition. Actually, a surprising number of Democrats didn't want to give him a chance in the beginning. That's why his numbers went all the way up to maybe like at their max 44, 45%. So, how's he doing with Democrats now? No, the jury said. 2% approval, 96% disapproval. And look, you might think that's obvious. No, I've never seen numbers that large. Not during George W. Bush, not during Reagan. 2% approval. It almost literally can't get any worse than that. You got 2 points left to go, Trump. How about Republicans? Now, of course, much healthier number with the Republicans, but these are not good numbers either. 76% approval. You might think that's really high, 17% disapproval. Sure, I mean, that's a nice ratio for them, but that number has gone down significantly. Normally, you'll hold easily 85% of your own guys, especially when you're president. And if you're doing well, you'll go up to 95%, etc., right? To be down to 76% and dropping. And I think he lost about 9 points with Republicans recently. So, part of the reason he's losing Republican voters they're finally figuring out what I've been telling them also, actually, before day one, for about 2 years during the primaries and the general election. I said he could win. I said he's a populist. You got to watch out. You got to be careful. But the number one thing about Trump is that he's incompetent. So now the Republicans are going, oh, he couldn't pass the health care repeal of Obamacare. He couldn't pass anything. He's not doing anything right. The other problem is that he's firing somebody every single week. You're not an apprentice anymore. Okay, you're not supposed to fire one person each week. So the incompetence is just now so obvious that even a decent chunk of Republicans are going, yeah, that looks pretty bad. And conservative media has started to turn on him. So Levin, of all people, so talk radio, Breitbart even, and now lately Drudge Report starting to criticize Donald Trump. World of trouble. But most important is independence, because there is now a significant chunk of independence. People always talk about the two ends and how the country is so polarized, but the independents grow every single day. And in the old days, independents sometimes would be Republican light or conservative light. These days, no, independents are truly independent, and they can swing in either direction, and they definitely do swing elections. So this is the most important number. 34% approve, 60% disapprove. So now that's not the 96% disapproval that Democrats have, but 60% disapprove is really bad. Only 34% among independents means he has lost the middle of the country. So if you think he's competent enough to mount a comeback and actually regain them, have at it, Hoss. How much would you like to bet on that? Because that ain't going to happen. It's only going to go further down. All right, now more bad news. 63% of respondents feel Russia attempted to influence the election. Now you could say, okay, that's fairly clear, and given that both the Obama intelligence agencies, they're not Obamas and they're not Trump's, they're intelligence agencies overall, but they did have Obama appointees when he was in charge, obviously, and now they have Trump appointees. And both sets of appointees agree. There's no question that Russia meddled in our elections. So that 63% number is actually surprisingly low. I think that's a little bit of like F you to the establishment media that won't stop talking about it. So they're like, nah, whatever, right? But the reality is, even if there was Russian meddling, but there was no deal with Trump, then it's not that big a deal. So that's the most important question. Let's go to that. 58% believe the president has tried to derail or obstruct the investigation into Russian election interference. That's very bad news for the president. I don't know if he knows this. That's illegal. And then one final category from a different poll, Gen Forward survey on millennials. You thought the general population didn't like him. Wait till you get a load of millennials. So every category, here, let's put it up. Every category of millennials can't stand him. African Americans have him at 10%, 76% disapproval. Asians have him at 67% disapproval. Latinos have them at 68% disapproval. These are horrible. But look, the white vote is what got him the presidency in the first place. And among millennials, they're not buying it. They're not going along with the rest of the white population, especially the evangelical white population that voted for him at an 81% clip. No, among white millennials, 29% approval, 55% disapproval. So, Mr. President, there aren't a lot of people that still like you. And this is not 3 years in. This is not the second term. The jury is, in a matter of speaking, maybe it will be literal soon. But in this case, the jury's already come in 7 months into your presidency. And they pretty much can't stand you. And they're right. Okay, so now let's go to the issues. The wall. This was his big claim to fame, right? So we have another leak now. This is about a conversation that President Trump had with President Enrique Peña Nieto on January 27th. So a little while back, he gets into office. One of the first calls he makes, understandably, is to our neighbor to the south. And remember, he had as his top campaign issue the wall. But when he calls the Mexican president, he doesn't say that. He says, these are transcripts, quote, "It is the least important thing we are talking about." I thought you told your voters that it was the most important thing. You see that? He's got a different story for depending on who he's talking to. And so, if you look, even if you're MAGA, you know he's a liar. You know he lies every single day. He can't help himself. Even his friends say he's a pathological liar. All right, so that's one aspect of it. Then, though, he talks to Nieto and he wants to get him to stop talking about the wall and how he won't pay for it. Now, of course, Mexico, Trump famously said we're going to build a wall and we're going to make Mexico pay for it. Mexico said, no, we're not going to do that. Of course I'm going to pay for your stupid wall, right? So Trump is trying to talk Nieto out of saying that. So he says, this again in the transcripts of the phone conversation. So what I would like to recommend is, if we're going to have continued dialogue, we will work out the wall. They're going to say, who's going to pay for the wall, Mr. President? To both of us. And we should both say, we will work it out. It will work out in the formula somehow. As opposed to you saying we will not pay and me saying we will not pay. Why? Why would he agree to that? It's like saying, now look, here's the deal. I'm going to punch you in the face. But if the press asks you, let's both agree to say that I didn't punch you in the face. No deal. Okay, I'm going to make him pay for the wall. Now say that, don't say that you're not paying for it, okay? Why would I say, okay, anyway, so Nieto understandably responds, says, this is what I suggest, Mr. President, he's telling Trump. Let us stop talking about the wall. I have recognized the right of any government to protect its borders as it deems necessary and convenient. But my position has been and will continue to be very firm, saying that Mexico cannot pay for that wall. Now, look, I actually think that's the least he can do. If I was him, and I wanted to protect my people, and their pride. I mean, their pride's been insulted, and it's not just a matter of their pride. Everything has been insulted. He called Mexicans coming in murderers and rapists and criminals. So if I was Nieto, I'd have been 1,000 times tougher on him. But and I would say, yeah, I'm going to talk about the wall. Yeah, we're going to do a press conference. You know what's the first thing I'm going to say? I'm not paying for that goddamn wall. But okay, Nieto at least said, no deal. Of course, I'll tell people what our actual position is if they ask. And Trump tries one last time. But you cannot say that to the press. The press is going to go with that, and I cannot live with that. You cannot say that to the press because I cannot negotiate under those circumstances. Here's what you're missing. And I know, Nieto, they're both presidents, and the U.S. is an incredibly important trading partner. There's a lot on the line, so there's a ton of pressure on Nieto. I get it. But if I'm in a situation like this, I'd be like, what are you talking about? What negotiations? There's no negotiations. There's no back and forth. You said we would pay for the wall. You made that up. We're not going to pay for it. So if you can't negotiate under those conditions, great, because we weren't negotiating in the first place. Okay? So go ahead and piss off. So Trump is, and look, lastly on this is that he never had a plan. So he told you all these pretty little lies. On healthcare, he told you, everybody's going to be covered. That's universal healthcare coverage. That is a very progressive position. Now he gets in office. Are you going to cover everybody? No. Not all the tens of millions that right now are not covered. We're never going to cover them. And on top of that, we're going to make sure another 20 to 30 million go uncovered. He said universal coverage. Everybody said. Lower premiums. No, it turns out their proposal was higher premiums. And we're going to cover things like pre-existing condition, and your health care is going to be better. It turns out, no, the health care that would cover less things. So over and over again, he told you the wall is the most important thing. It turns out he thinks or tells other people it's the least important thing. And he told you he had a plan. He had a plan for ISIS. Where the hell's that plan? He told you he had a plan to make Mexico pay for the wall. You can see from this conversation, he never had that plan. He thought, I don't know, I'll just make it up now. And then when I get into office, which I probably won't, but if I do, then I'll try to bully a couple of people into doing what I want. That's not how a smart person operates. You come up with a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and you figure out what leverage to use to get to that. His idea of leverage is, okay, don't do that, okay? I'm asking you not to do that, because that would be embarrassing to me, okay? Let's not talk about the wall. And then don't say that you're not going to pay for it. Oh, you don't agree? Oh, shoot. I didn't have a plan B. Total knucklehead. Okay, next. Next is a surprising story where I somewhat agree with him. Okay. So there's a story out about how Donald Trump wants to fire someone else. This time it's one of his generals. It's Army General John Nicholson. Now, normally, people are going to shake their heads and go, oh, another firing. Jesus Christ, when is this going to end? And yes, it is fair to say that he thinks that the world is still on the show Apprentice and that he's contractually bound to fire one person a week. Having said all that, in this case, I don't agree with necessarily the firing, and I don't agree with his reasons, but I think his overall concern is correct, and so I want to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here, because look, no matter how much I think he's incompetent, I disagree with him on other issues. Every issue you have to look at fairly and see if he's doing the right thing or the wrong thing, and if he's doing the right thing, great, give him credit for it. So he was having a meeting with his Defense Secretary James Mattis, Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Joseph Dunford, and And in the middle of the meeting, he asked whether he should fire the general leading Afghanistan. That's Nicholson. First thing he said is, we aren't winning. Now you can say that's overly simplistic, sure, but overall, it's true. I mean, this is what his supporters wanted, right? They knew that he doesn't know the inner details of politics. They probably had no idea how incompetent he is, but that's okay. But you want him to have a gut sense. If you're his supporter and you say things like, well, I trust his gut, right? And in this case, he looks at Afghanistan and he says, we aren't winning. That's true. His gut is that it's a mess. That's true. So give him credit for that. And you might think, boy, that's a really low bar. But no, most establishment politicians, both Republicans and Democrats, would have gone in there and be like, okay, the generals tell me it's great. Let's stay another 10 years and see what happens. So there is a difference between politicians, and in this case, I think he's closer to being correct. Now, the details on the meeting. The meeting grew stormy, according to Reuters, when Trump said Defense Secretary James Mattis and Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Joseph Dunford and Marine General should consider firing Army General John Nicholson, commander of the U.S. forces in Afghanistan, for not winning the war. Now, there we go again, Trump being a simpleton. It's not that we're not winning in Afghanistan because we have a bad general, and if we had a good general, we would somehow win. It's way more complicated than that. Do you know that this is a poll taken many years ago, actually? They asked Afghanis about 9/11, and over 90% of them had no idea what that was. They don't even know why we're fighting them. No, if they knew it at all, they've forgotten it, but most of them didn't know it in the first place. And that was an amazing poll we covered back in the day on the Young Turks, and there were some quotes that came along with it, and it'd be like villagers in the middle of a valley in the middle of Afghanistan. They'd be like, look, every once in a while the Russians come and we fight them, and the Americans came and we fight them. We just assume that people are coming to take our land. So the Afghans are fighting us because we're there. They're not going to get up out of that valley. The random dudes. If you're going to go after Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda hasn't been in Afghanistan for decades now. We chased them out right in the beginning. We actually had them cornered. We could have killed bin Laden a long time ago. Rumsfeld didn't send in troops. You should read about that. It's an old story from the New York Times back in 2004. It's an amazing story. But the bottom line is, now we're fighting guys who don't even know why we're fighting them, and we don't know why we're fighting them. Why are we still in Afghanistan? Is it the Taliban? Is the Taliban still connected to Al-Qaeda and ISIS? Are you sure about that? What the hell are we doing there? That's the right question to ask. So his gut's headed in the right direction. His head, as usual, is drifting out there somewhere. Oh, we're not winning. We should be a better general. What's a better general going to do? Send more troops? That didn't work. Send less troops? That didn't work. Here's the correct path. Get out. We're causing a bigger mess by staying in. Anyway, one more quote on this. Reuters says, officials said that Trump argued that the United States should demand a share of Afghanistan's estimated $1 trillion in mineral wealth in exchange for its assistance for the Afghan government. This is simple. Look, I'm trying to give the guy credit. And if he gets us out of Afghanistan, I don't care how wrong his reasoning was. Great, I'll take it, and I'll give him all the credit in the world on it. But no, the right answer is not, now let's steal the natural resources of Afghanistan to pay for the war that we created that I know is a mess and that we're not winning. How is that helping Afghanistan? How is it helping us? But this guy, he really meant it when he said, oh, when we went into Iraq, we should have just taken their oil. Are you insane? Then they're going to say, oh, you didn't come to liberate us, which is the excuse Bush used. You came to rob us. And then the whole country would fight us. And that war would have been even worse than it was, as it was, and it was already a debacle and a disaster. So now his brilliant idea for how to make Afghanistan better is, why don't we just take their minerals? Just take it from them. They should pay us for us invading them. Oh, yeah. Just somebody get in there. It's like, and be like, oh, Mr. President, you're so right. I can't believe they're not just letting us take their natural resources when it's their own population source. I can't believe that's outrageous. Oh, I got an idea for you, Mr. President. Let's just leave. That'll show them. It might work. He's kind of headed in that direction. Just nudge him that way. It is so frustrating how little he knows. Anyway, firing the general in this case isn't going to solve it. But if it leads to us leaving, fantastic. I can't wait to give him credit on that. If he'll just act accidentally go in the right direction. Okay, we got to take a break here. When we come back, a fight amongst progressives. Bernie land has been attacked. I'll explain. I got a bunch of things to go through. No Republican would have ever voted for Bernie. He would have done worse than Hillary Clinton.
They're so miserable. All right, I'm going to stop myself before I say things that are offensive.
If I ran for office, and that would be a trippy day, right? I'd break even more rules than Trump. If I had all the money in the world, I would enjoy that. We have a great show for you. Steve's answer is C. Dave's is A, and the correct answer is, of course, B. You guys are the worst. Here's the story, and it's not funny. It's over too. It seems just comically unfair and ridiculous. The Democratic Party just sucks right now. It just sucks because it doesn't know what it stands for. We should probably wrap it up.
Easy for me. I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. All my life, I was told no. He said I had small hands. They're not small. I never heard that one before.
Today is truly a historic day with the Supreme Court decision that makes same-sex marriage legal nationwide.
So this is one of those days in American history. It doesn't come along that often. Where we have expanded the circle of liberty. Look, all we try to do on this show, okay, is to give you perspectives, right? So you can get a better understanding.
We need to change our mentality and understand why these people are trying to leave their own countries and everything that they've known, everything that they've built.
Yeah.
It's not to come here and harm you.
Anytime you force someone, like they did in Arizona, to carry their paperwork, it's to remind them every day that they do not belong in your society.
Now that is the sound of fascism beginning here in America.
Doesn't that scare you? Don't you see history repeating itself? That xenophobia and faux populism to get people worked up to attack outsiders.
That is violent rhetoric, and your violent rhetoric translates to violent actions. If you don't get that, well, you're either in denial or you know it's true and you just don't want to admit it.
What's the message we're sending to the rest of the world? I mean, give us your poor, you're tired, and we will greatly mistreat them under horrible conditions where some of them will die. That's not what the Statue of Liberty says. If you asked me to come up with something insulting to Latinos, I couldn't have done anything like this. I wouldn't have thought to insult the grandkids. Yeah. 2/3 of the people shot when they're unarmed were blacks and Latinos. That means they were wrong. They're like, who cares? Shoot them, shoot them, shoot them, shoot them.
Look, my dad was born in Syria. My dad could have stayed in Syria, and he could have been a victim of all this, right? And the thought of the United States saying no to Syrian victims, I don't know. It makes me incredibly emotional and incredibly angry because I think it goes against what this country's about.
The fighters, the warriors, the ones who go the extra mile, in this case literally, to provide for their family and to look for that American dream. And they shouldn't be forced to live in an American nightmare. All right. Let's go to a couple of tweets here, and then I got a very fun tweet for you at the end. Ansik asked, do you think that Kelly will give him a slight boost and keep him stable for a month or so? And my answer is no. The only chance that things will be stable for the next couple of weeks is because Donald Trump's going on vacation. But he'll even tweet from there, and he'll probably fire people from there. So it's nonstop mess. So John Kelly, his new chief of staff, seems like a really stable guy. But you know what he's not going to do? He's not going to cover for Trump because he almost quit over the James Comey firing. And when he doesn't cover for Trump, especially with the grand jury now, Trump will eventually get furious and lash out at John Kelly. There is no fixing this problem. You can't fix dumb. Okay, John Blackman writes in, unfortunately, American presidents have a tried and true method of greatly boosting approval ratings. It involves a lot of death. And unfortunately, that is true normally. And if that's the case, oh boy, buckle up. Because the thing that I keep telling you I'm most worried about is North Korea and a conflict there. Because that is not going to fix his approval numbers. When hundreds of thousands of people die in the first couple of days of that war, he is going to become the worst president we've ever had. James Harding and George W. Bush will breathe a large sigh of relief. But it is going to be brutal. It is going to be terrible. If that happens, let's hope that it doesn't, because that's not gonna fix it for him. Okay, so last tweet for you guys. Jim Carrey apparently is a viewer of the Young Turks, bless his heart, and wanted to get the word out about what's happening tonight. And so, sure, rock and roll. Tonight in West Virginia, real Donald Trump is expected to eat a baby on stage to the delight of his zombie base. Hashtag Walking Dead, and then he has an art piece that he personally did, Jim Carrey did, that he attached to the tweet. Now, I must report to you, because it is my obligation as a news person, that very likely Donald Trump will not eat a baby in West Virginia. That is just Jim Carrey's opinion, man. Okay, anyway, but I appreciate that they sent that in. Okay, so now let's go forward. Let's go to a fight between progressives. Okay. It has begun. The Bernie faction versus establishment Democrats. Now, this is a small warning shot that I believe the establishment is firing in a sense here, okay? So, I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, and I marked it down on the calendar when I told the production team, which was 5 weeks ago, that I got it. I know who the establishment is going to support, and that's Kamala Harris. And in that 5 weeks, all we've gotten is more and more evidence of that. In fact, let me go to this story from Mike.com, and boy, does it buttress exactly what I've been telling you guys. Freshman Senator Kamala Harris has recently become the subject of much speculation about a potential 2020 presidential run. Okay, so listen to the next sentence. So this is very important. Several major news outlets have run feature-length profiles of Harris, and top Democratic donors are starting to coalesce around her as their preferred candidate to take on President Donald Trump. First of all, just a little told you. And I did not know that the donors were coalescing around her when I said that they're going to pick Kamala Harris. Why are they going to pick her? Here are the three reasons why, and you'll see immediately that this is the strategy they have already begun. She's going to be very hard to attack. So when you, how would progressives campaign against an establishment candidate? Well, you would go to their record, right? And you would campaign on the issues. That's why Bernie Sanders was so popular, because he's been campaigning on those same issues for the last 40 years. But when you go to campaign against any of these candidates, whether it's Booker or who knows, you name it, Al Franken or Kirsten Gillibrand, it doesn't matter. They're going to counterattack. Now, how are they going to counterattack? Well, in the case of Kamala Harris, they're going to get to say she's black and she's a woman, so if you attack her, you are by definition racist and sexist. You think that's not coming? First of all, it's already arrived, as predicted. And this is just the very, very tip of a giant iceberg to come. And the third thing is, she doesn't have much of a record. She's barely been in office. So they're right now out there going, oh, she's been fighting Trump. Wow, that is the lowest bar there is, right? And I want to be really clear about this. I don't have a position on Kamala Harris yet because I don't know her well enough. She was Attorney General in California. She did one great thing. She fought Obama on a negotiation they were doing with the banks, and her, along with Eric Schneiderman in New York, got the administration to be tougher on the banks and get more from the banks in a settlement that they did. Now, I don't think they should have done a settlement. I think they should have pursued both civil and criminal charges against the banks and their executives. But overall, that's a big win, and I was very happy about that. So credit where credit is due. She also could have easily prosecuted One West, which was Steve Mnuchin's bank. He's now, of course, the Treasury Secretary. She did not pursue those charges, and Steve Mnuchin later gave her campaign donations for her 2016 run. That was not so good. But look, you gotta... On just two issues, you can't judge someone. And unfortunately, in the Senate, she just got there. There's really almost nothing you can judge her based on there. So we got to get into the issues. So I'm not prejudging Senator Harris at all, okay? But I do know that the donors are headed in that direction. There's probably a good reason why. They might know something we don't know. And the mainstream media loves her. Of course! Okay. Anybody but Bernie. That is definitely part of what they're thinking here. So, now, in this case, Andrew Joyce, who wrote this article, went and got a bunch of quotes from progressives, including, by the way, our own Miki Kantz, a TYT reporter. But Roseanne DeMoro had a good quote. She's the executive director of National Nurses United. They were a very strong union that supported Bernie Sanders, one of the few. They're very progressive, and they fight with Justice Democrats and Our Revolution on really important issues like Medicare for All. So Roseanne DeMoro said about Kamala Harris, she's one of the people the Democratic Party is putting up in terms of where the progressives live. I don't think there's anything there. So I think what DeMoro is saying there is, like, I get it. There's a bunch of senators that the mainstream media likes and the donors like, but there's no reason yet to be excited about Senator Harris. So there's the one thing that I told you that she did as Attorney General, but what are her proposals? Has she put forward legislation? Has she actively fought for it? What has she done, right? So I think that's a very fair comment from DeMoro. Well, then Mike Policy goes over to Mike.com, goes to Esses Magazine. They find Michael Arsenault, who says, in response to DeMoro, when it comes to where progressives live, which ones are she referring to? The white ones? Boom. Immediately, it got racial. Well, first of all, that's not remotely true. Over 80% of African Americans support Bernie Sanders. He does better among African Americans than almost any other demographic, and he does great in all the demographics. So, you're just making that up. And the establishment criticizes Bernie Sanders as too liberal. They say it's not practical. You can't get those things done. Oh, free college, Medicare for all. You can't get those things done. You're too liberal. You're too progressive. Then at the same time, they turn around a guy who's the most liberal senator. I don't know that, you might be racist. Look, this is not, it's going to get much worse than this. This is, like I said, it's just a warning shot. But immediately, when you say, hey, has Kamala Harris accomplished as much or fought for as long and as strong progressive positions as Bernie Sanders says, oh yeah, who's saying that? White people? This is going to get super ugly. And I'm noting for the record here, we didn't start this. The minute that anyone said, hey, I'm just wondering, what has Senator Harris done? Oh, okay. I guess it's a white-black thing now. No, it was never a white-black thing until you brought it up. Okay. You remember that picture of Bernie Sanders chained to an African-American woman during the Civil Rights era where he said, if you're going to arrest her, I'm coming with her. You're going to have to arrest me too. They question his racial record. Are you insane? You only do that if you want to be disingenuous. And these right-wingers, they drive me crazy with what they say is identity politics on the left. In reality, we're not playing any identity politics. What we're saying is, we think black people should have the same rights as white people. That shouldn't be a controversial position. We think women should have the same rights as men. not controversial. Gay people should have the same rights as straight people. I don't think that's remotely controversial. That isn't identity politics. When you say they should have, white people or straight people or men should have more rights, like straight people should get to marry with all the rights, and gay people should not get to marry or not have the same rights, you're playing identity politics. But when the establishment Democrats come in and say, no, you have to support someone, either Booker or Harris because they're black, or Gillibrand or Harris because they're women, and based on what? Not on policy, but just on who they are, that actually is identity politics. It's not being played by progressives. Progressives don't like that stuff at all. They want to fight for equality. These people aren't real progressives. The establishment is just asking, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? And how do I get it? And how low and how dirty do I have to go to get it? Okay, by the way, these Bernie bros that they quoted. Now, to be fair, again, Andrew Joyce in this article didn't say Bernie bro, so I'm not putting it on him, but that is a comment that has been used many times. Joyce called it Bernie land. So I want to see the three people he quoted in Bernie land. That'd be Namiki Gantz, Roseanne DeMaro, and Winnie Wong. Three women, so I'm sure the Bernie bro attack is coming next. So, we're so far out from 2020, and it's already begun. So, you think there's going to be party unity? No, they're never going to unify behind the most popular politician in the country. If all they cared about was winning, it would be a no-brainer. But they're not going to do that because they're more worried about the money. And they never fight hard against Republicans, but they will fight us tooth and nail. I'm telling you right now, this is just the beginning, and it's going to get super ugly. Okay. Let's go to, speaking of super ugly, let's go to Fox News. Okay. So yesterday I told you about the actual Seth Rich conspiracy. Rod Wheeler, who is a correspondent for Fox News, said that another Fox News reporter had fabricated quotes from him in order to make it appear that Seth Rich was not killed in a robbery. He was a staffer for the DNC, but that he was killed perhaps by the DNC or Hillary Clinton's people, which is madness, just insanity, right? And now Wheeler is saying, yes, Ed Butowski is a rich Republican donor, is the one who concocted this plan. Fox News executed it. Sean Hannity then talked about it, and the president apparently, if you believe Rod Wheeler's lawsuit, was involved as well. Okay? Now, there's restless employees at Fox News having seen all this, and Fox News did retract the story, so they know now that it was absolutely wrong. Now, remember when CNN got a story slightly wrong about Scaramucci, and it's actually an open dispute whether that story was even wrong. But in order to be inordinately careful, they fired 3 people immediately. Okay, so has Fox News fired anybody yet, including the person who's charged with fabricating quotes that were in fact not real? I'm waiting for it. Nope, no one fired yet. Okay, so now CNN has a story from insiders at Fox News. Fox News employees said, people need to start getting canned over the Seth Rich thing. What a mess. I don't know if you realize where you work. Doing Republican conspiracy and propaganda is not something you get fired for at Fox News. That's something you get promoted for. But, there's this, kind of an innocent naivete, even including, and maybe most especially including people inside the Fox News building. Because they got to, live with themselves. And there are good folks in there, and I'll explain that in a second. But let me give you more details here. Oliver Darcy writes about this on CNN Money. They don't want to acknowledge that they fucked up, a senior Fox News employee said, explaining that either a top editor didn't see the story before publication, as would be a typical procedure, or a top editor saw the article and approved it. The insider says both situations are really bad. So it's not an oversight. According to Rod Wheeler, an editor did see it and approved it. And I don't know why they treat this as like new news, that Fox News does this generally. There's a whole movie about it called Out Fox by Brave New Films, and that's from over a decade ago. And there are dozens of examples of memos that people find from Fox News executives and editors telling the reporters how to skew stories. There was a famous one where they said, pretend that Hamas was celebrating Democratic victories after Democrats won the House one year. And then you see Martha McCullum go on air and pretend that Hamas was celebrating the victories when they were doing no such thing. They had no idea what the hell was going on in our elections. They totally fabricated it, and their bosses made them do it at Fox News. So this is not a new event at Fox News. So if you're under any illusion that they're not propaganda for the Republican Party, you should snap out of it. All right, the sources who spoke with CNN said they felt that the significant misstep on the Rich story continues to haunt the network and to put a cloud over their own network. Dude, that cloud was already there, man. Wakey, just look up. He says, a Fox News on-air personality says, quote, "This makes people doubt Fox." I got bad news for you. They were already doubting Fox. Really? That's like news to you that people doubt Fox? You thought you were at a credible news organization that's just right down the middle, man. We call it like we see it. Okay. Another employee noted that it forces people to question the network's, this is hilarious, journalistic integrity. Yeah, I think it does that. So, look, it's not that everybody who works at Fox News is a bad guy or that they're part of this machine. Some are more obviously culpable. If you make up quotes to do this Republican hit piece, you're pretty culpable. If you, like Martha McCullum, just repeat stuff that isn't true because your boss told you, you're pretty culpable. But there are a lot of folks there that are just reporters, and they're like, look, it's a paycheck, and oftentimes a very large paycheck. They send me somewhere, I go report on it, and I'm done with it. And you know, it is super hard in the media to find an outlet that isn't compromised in one way or another. Look, the CNNs and the MSNBCs are part of giant multi-billion-dollar corporations that also have interests in front of the U.S. government, whether it's mergers or net neutrality. Are they influenced by their parent corporation's economic interests? Of course! That's how corporations work. Fox News is greatly influenced by the guy who started it, Roger Ailes, and the guy who owns it, Rupert Murdoch. Deeply conservative, deeply Republican. They want to push in that direction. And we have the internal memos to prove it. We have the external stories to prove it. Yes, Al Jazeera, owned by Qatar, Russia Today, owned by RT. It doesn't mean that every person at CNN, Fox News, Al Jazeera, and RT are bad journalists. But you should know the context of these. And almost everyone, apparently outside the people, some people working at Fox News, know that Fox News is a conservative place. They're not playing it right down the middle, which is fine. By the way, they got rid of their Fair and Balanced logo and slogan. So now at least, you know, raise your hand and say we do conservative perspective, and that's okay. But to pretend otherwise and to talk about your journalistic integrity, it's a little amusing. Now, when asked to explain why they have not responded at all to the Seth Rich story, why they haven't fired anyone, they were asked to explain this, and here's what Fox News said.
Tide goes in, tide goes out. Never miscommunication. You can't explain that.
Apparently there is no explanation. It was a little forced, but it was still fun. Okay, so that's Fox News. All right, now let's go to another madman that was inside the government. Okay. So the Trump administration has some professionals that work there, old school Republicans, a lot of generals, and then some new school guys, some guys who are more into nationalism, America first, and that do a lot of fear mongering around immigrants, Mexicans, Muslims, etc. Rich Higgins, I think, fairly qualifies in that category. He was at the National Security Council. Wow, that's a really important position. In fact, let me tell you more about it. This is from the Atlantic. Rich Higgins, a former Pentagon official who served in the National Security Council's Strategic Planning Office as a director of strategic planning, was let go on July 21st. So the good news is he's fired already. Now I'm going to show you why he's fired. And keep in mind that his job was Director for Strategic Planning. That is a super important security position. And listen to his theories on what's going on in the world. Quote, globalists and Islamists recognize that for their visions to succeed, America both as an ideal and as a national and political identity must be destroyed. So this is a memo he wrote inside the National Security Council. It appears, based on the reporting we have, his National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, saw this and was like, son, what are you talking about? Who are these so-called globalists, and where's your evidence that they're working with Islamists? So the memo continues. Islamist ally with cultural Marxists because as far back as the 1980s, they properly assessed that the left has a strong chance of reducing Western civilization to its benefit. What? Now, these guys are absolutely insane. Back in the 1980s, radical Muslims made a deal with Marxists to undermine Western civilization, including the United States. First of all, what Marxists? Where are the Marxists in power in America? Who are you even referring to? And why would the left make a deal with Islamic radicals who don't believe in any of the civil rights that the left believes in? That would be maniacal. But you see, the thing is, guys like Rich Higgins can't tell the difference between a radical Muslim terrorist and a Muslim. He thinks, well, I already said Muslim, right? No, so a progressive would say, should a Muslim American have the same rights as other Americans? The answer to that is, of course. All Americans are 100% American. Obviously, we should all have the same rights. We believe in equality. If, on the other hand, you said, would you like to work with a Muslim radical who would like to kill gay people, oppress women, and generally bomb our civilization? The answer would be, no, not interested in that. Those are hideous and the exact opposite of progressive positions. But Higgins he's got it all figured out of a secret conspiracy. But dude, you're at the National Security Council. Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence, Tom? Do I need evidence? Yes, you need evidence. Your job is to protect America. You're not on a blog anymore. Okay, you need to actually do a job where we spend resources in the right direction and we solve things and we prevent terrorist attacks and we protect this country. Where's your evidence? Yeah, shocking that he couldn't find evidence of Marxists and Muslims working together since the 1980s. So what is this all a big part of? He claims it's part of hold for this, a Maoist insurgency model. What the fuck are you talking about? Maoist insurgency? Yeah. Well, the country is littered with Maoists. If there's one thing I know about America, it's filled to the rim with Maoists. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm not running in the right circles, but I've now been in the progressive camp for quite some time. I've never even run into a Maoist, let alone a Maoist insurgent who's like, I got a great idea. We take the Maoists and the Muslim radicals and the Marxists, and we launch a conspiracy even though none of us agree with each other. Okay, here's one last one. Because the left is aligned, Higgins explains, because the left is aligned with Islamist organizations at the local, national, and international levels, recognition should be given to the fact that they seamlessly interoperate through coordinated, synchronized, interactive narratives. Okay, where is one example of a coordinated narrative between Muslim radicals and progressives who want the exact opposite thing? Well, if they've got it, for example, if they have a coordinated narrative on LGBT rights, boy, they're doing a great job of hiding it. One side is not at all in favor of LGBT rights, to say the least, and the other side is completely in favor of it. You see how they are, in fact, interconnected through the Maoist insurgency model. So, I guess in a roundabout way, I'm going to give credit to the Trump administration here, because they at least fired this jackass. So, the Trump guys put him in. At least McMaster was smart enough to go, hey, listen, nut job. We're trying to do a real work here, okay? We're trying to protect the country. You obviously have no evidence of a so-called Maoist insurgency led by Marxists and Muslims. So, here's the new model you should look into. Unemployment. Because that's what you're going to need to do, because you're fired. Hey, we found a Trump firing. That makes sense! Mission accomplished. Okay. I'm out of time. I've gone too long. All right, guys. Let's take a quick break. We got amazing stories for you in the second hour, including, I call them super babies. That's not exactly right. Superhumans have begun. And I'm not kidding. You're going to see I am technically and correct and correct otherwise as well. The only question is how long before they take over. All right, that fun conversation when we return. TYT's partnering with Participant Media to help solve the climate crisis. Wouldn't that be great? Now, look, you got to check out our series, 10 Days of Action, to learn more about what you can do to make a difference. And go see an inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power in theaters in New York and LA on July 28th and nationwide August 4th. If President Trump won't lead, we should. The American people have to do it. The majority of Americans, civic leaders, mayors, governors, businesses, they're already moving forward to stop climate change. So no single person can stop us. I pledge to join the movement and hashtag #BeInconvenient. Go to inconvenientsequel.com/action to be part of the solution.
They'd rather lose to Republicans than have a progressive win with them. That's how dumb the corporate Democrats are.
It's the Democrats who most of the seats, and at the end of the day, they're the ones who push the right-wing agenda. Most of the people are either unemployed, underemployed, or fucked.
This is why you lost to Trump, you fucking moron. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Whoever wrote that, I'm sure they were typing with one hand and going like this. The Democrats are dead. The way you feel right now, that's how a chump feels. Do not freak out.
All right, back in the Young Turks, Jake Uger, the professor. We're both here. Check out a post game to understand that a little bit better. TYTnetwork.com/join. Become a member. Trukian, boy, is that a terrible pronunciation of your name, participated in YouTube Super Chat, so I could butcher his name, says, I watch TYT because Cenk is like a Turkish version of my dad. Also, can you do more Canadian stories? I like Prime Minister Trudeau, but I find his government's acceptance of pipelines troubling. You might actually be happy about a pipeline story we're doing later in this hour. So, but now I'm a dad, Anna. That's what it is. Yeah. I remind people of their dad.
How does that feel?
It feels like reality.
Yeah.
That's what I get for doing this Maoist insurgency model. Anyway.
What?
Some insane conspiracy theory. All right. Jinho Choi writes in, Kamala Harris is a Hillary clone. Kamala will lose to Mike Pence in 2020. Again, I don't yet have a strong opinion on Kamala Harris, but ain't nobody losing to Mike Pence in 2020. Okay. But if you do run a real establishment person, that's your only chance of losing to Republicans. Okay. Ashley B says the Democrats' real new slogan is anyone but Bernie. That, unfortunately, is fairly true. Okay. All right. Good enough for now. I will have the members of the day a little bit later for you guys. Casper, go!
All right. You have, enough energy to make up for my lack of energy today.
You know what the thing is? I hear that Trump is low energy. That's why he needs to take a 3-week vacation, right? He doesn't have stamina. He doesn't have stamina. Me, I have stamina.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Nobody's kicking me out the door.
All right, I'm going to get started with something a little different from what we usually do. Yes, there's a lot of political news. Yes, we will get to that later in the hour. But I want to start off with something completely different. All right. Sophie Turner is one of the actresses on HBO's Game of Thrones. She is Sansa Stark, and she had some interesting things to say about her success and her career recently during an interview with Quarter magazine. Now, she built a pretty big social media following, and she says that because of that social media following, she has gotten roles over other actresses who are actually more talented than she is. So here are her quotes. She says, a lot of what I have achieved is about timing and luck, but it is also, and I hate to say it, about a big social media following. She says, I auditioned for a project, and it was between me and another girl who is a far better actress than I am, far better, but I had the followers, so I got the job. It's not right, but it is part of the movie industry now. So because of Game of Thrones, she swiftly built a social media following. Just to give you some numbers, with Twitter, it's 1.34 million followers, Instagram 5.4 million, and with Facebook, it's 2 million. So I think that's a really interesting admission from her, because, I think that most of us know that, but people don't admit it.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things here that are important societal trends. So first off, let's just be clear that I think she's also being humble, because we have no idea who's the better actress, right? Her or the other person who auditioned. She doesn't know. I think she's being nice by saying that.
This is a nice, change from what we're hearing from some of our leaders in the U.S.
Now it feels shocking when someone's humble.
Yeah.
But but let's take for granted that what she's saying is actually true, that the other person was better. I'm not overly surprised by that, but think about it. They're in media, what do you want? You want more people to watch you, whether it's a movie, it's a TV show, etc. So if people are already more popular, they might get more people to watch them. And why do the celebrities get so much money in the first place? Because they have more fans.
Right.
So it's not that outrageous, but, and by the way, her Twitter followers and all that stuff now is gigantic, but it was already pretty large. That's why she got the job.
Right.
And after she got the job, they took off like a rocket. But she already had a good presence. That's what she's talking about on these social media platforms. Now, the problem is, especially if you want to get big on it, if you want to get big on it, Twitter, say controversial things. If you want to get big on Instagram, show your body. I'm just keeping it real, okay? Especially me. They love my body. If you want to get big on Facebook, do viral hits. And of course, being a celebrity helps on all these counts. Being attractive helps on all these counts. But it does create some wrong incentives.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, if you're making good points on social media, I think it's far less likely that it will go viral. And you're absolutely right about Instagram, which, it is what it is. there is a market out there for racy photos, right, if you're a woman specifically, and that will build a following a lot quicker. But it just kind of sucks. Look, this isn't something new. As you mentioned, we've always had an issue where name recognition outweighs the importance of talent. And in this case, name recognition is kind of solidified based on how many followers you have on social media. It does create bad incentives. And, interestingly enough, she admits that as well. So she talked about how she used to post political things on social media, and then she realized, oh, wait, there are people paying attention to what I'm doing, and some people are actually getting offended by some of the things I'm posting. Let me give you her exact statement. She said, I was a 15-year-old girl writing rash political stuff that would get a negative reaction, and my team would tell me to take it down. Now I am learning to keep my mouth shut. I mean,
that's kind of annoying too, actually. Yeah. So now that's the other side of it. Like, if you want to get big on social media, say crazy things.
Yeah.
If you're already big, oh my God, don't give me your real opinion because that might offend somebody. So I think there needs to be a better balancing act. But this isn't just about actors. I have a friend who's got teenage daughters, and all of a sudden they're taking racy pictures. Why? Because it gets more thumbs up and likes and stuff on Instagram. So already at very young ages, look, if you want to brag about how many likes you got, right? Or how many hearts you got, and what's going to get you more hearts? If you have a racy picture.
You're such a dad.
I know, but it's true.
No, I like that you say how many hearts you get.
Wait, isn't that, don't you?
Yeah,
I know, but you press the heart.
It's just called likes.
Okay. I wonder if I'm big on Instagram. Nobody's interested in seeing my pictures. Nobody's hearting me there.
Oh,
anyway, and look, in the political sphere, I mean, I just call it what it is, right? I mean, how did Tomi Lahren become something? She's an attractive person who says outrageous, hideous things. People love to hate her. People want heels, and she's a heel.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a lot of positive followers. She has a huge amount of people who can't stand her. But you know what it did? It worked. It worked. There's cameras following her everywhere, and now she's like a big name for what? She actually was her show. Remember, she had a show on the Blaze. Was it popular? No one knows. No one has ever given numbers on it, right? So for all we know, no one watched her, right? Is there any evidence that she got ratings anywhere? None, right? Now she works for a Trump super PAC, right? What is that? She's just literally paid propagandist. She has no actual credentials, but she says terrible things about black people, and everybody's like, Jesus, can you believe she said that? And next thing you know, she rises up. All the wrong incentives.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I would rather not get as much fame, I guess, and say things that I actually believe and things that I think are actually productive, as opposed to growing a following of people that despise me. That doesn't sound fun. I mean, yeah, you make money off of that, right?
They do. So whether it's an actress who has more social media followers getting a hugely important role, are you kidding me? Getting a role on Game of Thrones, that's life-changing. Right? Or political pundits who, by the way, will get paid either by the PACs or for the speeches that they do, and they can command a higher speech rate, not based on their intelligence or even their popularity, but based on how well they're known. And if you say terrible things, you'll be better known.
Exactly.
So the market rewards things that it probably should not reward, and that's the situation we're in. Look, I appreciate Sansa start bringing up this conversation. And she's not the bad guy here at all. And she was wonderfully honest about it. And it is a real phenomenon in the whole country, not just for stars.
Right. All right, let's move on to an awesome scientific breakthrough that some people are not finding so awesome. A team of scientists from the United States, China, and also South Korea have found a way to precisely edit DNA in human embryos in order to fight disease, what's referred to as a disease gene. So, super fascinating. This is something that other scientists are really worried about because they think it'll lead to the emergence of so-called designer babies. However, the scientists working on this experiment are specifically looking for ways to do away with genes that lead to serious life-threatening diseases later on in your life. So this international team of scientists reports that they have, for the first time, figured out a way to successfully edit the DNA in human embryos without introducing the harmful mutations that were a problem in previous attempts elsewhere. Now, those previous attempts elsewhere were actually in China, where they attempted to do the same thing, but it led to other mutations that could have led to other diseases for humans in the future. Now, the new experiment used a powerful new gene editing technique to correct a genetic defect behind a heart disorder that can cause seemingly healthy young people to suddenly die from heart failure. So, other potential uses, if they fine-tune this, keep studying it, and find that it will be effective, it could help cure people, or prevent, I should say, it's a better word, prevent Huntington's disease, cystic fibrosis, Alzheimer's disease, breast and ovarian cancer. But I want to be absolutely clear, this is not, something that will now be implemented. Again, they want to do more studies, and they also have some ethical concerns to address as well.
Okay, it's over. We're going to evolve ourselves out of existence. We're going to banana ourselves. We evolved the banana.
Yeah.
And there will be superhumans. It's already over. It's just a matter of time. So It was nice knowing us. Homo sapiens, you had a good run. So let me explain. First of all, I did an interview with some doctors that's up on TYT interviews about similar procedures. And the reason why they're definitely going to do this is twofold. One, technology keeps improving, so they will get better and better. And like Anna said, we used to do this and it didn't work, now it does. Two, people really need it. And so those diseases are incredibly important. Breast cancer kills so many people in the country, let alone Alzheimer's. If you could just knock that out at the gene level, that would be amazing. And those are just 4 examples, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. Then once you get into the genes, why not fix other things? And in fact, look, the doctors I was talking to it was about a very rare condition where your heart stops all of a sudden. It's very similar to this story, okay? And so if it's genetic and you think your kids have it and they could die at any moment without warning, what would you do to fix that? Anything, right? So people are going to investigate this. We're already very close to solving it, and then they're going to do it. Right? And rightfully so. I would do it. So now, once you start doing it, there's no end to it. So the minute you can cure cystic fibrosis, somebody's going to say, I want a kid who's a little taller. Can you do that? Technically, not yet. Is it theoretically possible? Enormously possible / almost easy. Now, I'm not a scientist, and scientists go ahead on the comment section, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's not drastically different than this procedure. And so you can have, and they explain in the New York Times and NPR and all the other people who covered it, yes, it is possible, taller, stronger.
The super babies.
The super babies.
Right.
Which then, we call them super babies, but they really are superhumans. And it is almost a different species because it's no longer genetically us. And once you
genetically modified humans, right? And look, I want to be clear. The intention of these scientists has nothing to do with creating superior humans.
Of course
they
not.
genuinely want to alter, an embryo's genetic makeup to prevent very serious illnesses and diseases in the future. So, for instance, just to give you a specific example, there's the BRCA gene, and that's the gene that could lead to breast cancer or prostate cancer if it's something that's hereditary. So if you have a family member who had that type of cancer and you have that specific gene, you are likely, or you have a higher likelihood to also get cancer later in your life. And so through this research, they're hoping that they can alter that gene in an embryo in order to prevent that individual from having that type of cancer later on in his or her life. So I think that their, intentions are pure, and I think their intentions are great, but is there the potential of, a scientific breakthrough being abused in the future? Of course, just like technological advancements.
So I did, first of all, I want to be super clear. I love these scientists. As an atheist, let me just say, they're doing God's work. Okay, so this is amazing stuff, and thank God for them. And then let me give you a note of caution. Graphic 12, Marcy Darnowski, she's at the Center for Genetics and Society. She's their director. at Berkeley. She says, I think it's extraordinarily disturbing. It's a flagrant disregard of calls for a broad societal consensus and decisions about a really momentous technology that could be used good, but in this case is being used in preparation for an extraordinarily risky application. Now, we can disagree about how risky it is, and obviously, eventually the Food and Drug Administration will be part of the process of approving it, and boy, it'll have to go through a very significant process. But it doesn't matter if our FDA has certain rules. Anna read it to you. There's Chinese, South Korean, other researchers working on this. China's going to have different rules. They're already trying it.
They are already trying it. Also, keep in mind that here in the United States, there are certain laws or organizations working to prevent experiments into this. So there's the National Institutes of Health, and then there is also the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and they've banned experiments with embryos like this. But in the UK, researchers have been given the green light, and they are able to explore and experiment and try to figure out whether or not this could be a potential benefit for the human race in the future.
Yeah, and so, by the way, she says it could have disastrous consequences. That's true, but we're making a value judgment. So, is it disastrous if there are a bunch of humans out there that are stronger and faster and smarter? Maybe not disastrous. But if we have two different kinds of humans out there, and I know I'm way oversimplifying, because, you don't get into whether it's the same species or not. That's not important, right? Mm-hmm. What's important is they're genetically modified, right? And by the way, the minute you modify their genes to get rid of cystic fibrosis, it doesn't matter you did it for a good reason. That is a genetically modified person. Mm-hmm. And genetically modified doesn't necessarily mean bad. So, we're putting value judgments on it, but we don't know. And of course, there's also the chance that once you start playing around with the genes, you might accidentally trigger something you didn't realize you triggered.
Right. I think that's one of the fears. And also, looking way forward in the future, let's say that this type of medical advancement has been tested, it's been proven, it's safe, and people have the option of using it. What about the disadvantage? Are they going to have access to this? And so, who's going to take advantage of super babies?
That's exactly right.
So
look, when you think about the implications, and I know it's a little bit further down the road, but it's not that far down the road because technology is moving at 100 miles an hour, and we can already do it inside the embryo.
Right.
This is now getting closer and closer to reality. This is going to happen in our lifetimes. So, if it turns out only the rich can afford it, then the rich have the superhumans, and the middle class and the poor don't. I'm not kidding, right? And so, then what happens if the superhumans are really superhumans? Who cares how fast and strong they are? Okay, they have more NBA players. Who cares, right? What if they're really smart? Okay, I know it's way oversimplified. You're taking time, but you know how we view ants. Who cares? Ting, ting. Don't do that, by the way. Animals are innocent. What if they view us like cows? Whatever, man. It's expensive, right? And if it is a real
distance of the planet
jump, right? An exponential increase in intelligence.
That makes me feel so good.
Or something else that's an exponential increase. Oh boy, that's going to get super interesting.
Right.
And it might be some good in there. Could be some bad, but if you didn't like genetically modified organisms, wait till you get a load of genetically modified humans.
We did in 2015. Let's do the exact same movie. Creatures who love to party.
Let's take a break.
Let's take a quick break, guys.
And when we come back, some good news in regard to the Keystone XL
This
pipeline.
guy gets a whole cut into his bathroom while he's showering, but apparently he's safe as long as he's in the shower, because he doesn't get evacuated immediately like everyone else does. Also, this evacuation would definitely miss a heaping portion of the world, and it looks inefficient as I know the Boob are expert colonizers and everything, but they're not city planners for humans, right? How did they get all these houses and know where to plant the trees? And
all right, post-game here.
They captured everyone in the world and scurried back to the entire human population. These people have individual houses. Also, if they gathered up all the people in the world, what happens to the Eskimos?
Perhaps that's
the microwave and the two-car garage. That also means all of your warlords, psychopaths, dickheads are randomly living next door to these families.
This planet
may be a bit of a fixing it up. Yeah, but apparently it's got the same breathable atmosphere as you have back at your last place, which is super goddamn convenient. Also, the boob landed on this planet 5 seconds ago. Hundreds have decided to
I sound confident now, Anna. Again, when we're off the air, I'm going to be like,
shut
how
just
is this
there
going to
are as
work?
many bicycles in the city as there are toilets. And that grand piano is nowhere near both those items. Also suggests that Fruit Works is capable of making a toilet humor. Also, these toilets can be used to
got a lawyer for it.
perfectly empty and clean.
Residents may now enter section 179.
That is me!
Pretty standard to told what section 179 is.
You know you're doing it.
I don't know why.
They explained to everyone where they needed to go all around the world.
Here's what's
This movie could have been better. Like, didn't try to condense the evacuation and repopulation of the Earth in 6 minutes.
Welcome home, neighbors.
I can't wait to
Ooh,
Do not have that neighbor.
I can't wait to
Look at these
What you
assholes
guys do
reproduce.
is allow
They
us
don't
to
party,
be
they don't have
open
neighbors,
and
they always
honest,
run away
and
from
we don't have to
things.
worry about
Some kind
censorship,
of
we don't have
spoil
to worry about
reproduction.
sponsors telling us what we
Whoever
can
lived down here
and
would have
say.
cooked with a bunch of
We're
science books.
accountable
All these things
by
are not
our
like the others.
audience and
All
our
these things
audience
just doesn't
only,
belong.
and I
Calling bullshit
absolutely
on
love that.
brushing
That's
his
the best
teeth
part
by the
about
toilet
it.
here
We
since
love
they
you
were all
guys.
floating into space the last time we looked. This one cat's here. There should be a ton of others, especially in the big city. And if they took the pets too, why would assholes have left behind?
Mom's not here.
You mean the evacuation technology wasn't 100% foolproof? The boob just got here. I mean, they're still moving in and everything. So how did Tip have enough time to not only set up her hideaway here, but create all this anti-boob propaganda?
Prepare for your dance attack!
Tip set up this Rube Goldberg contraption in case someone came by instead of an alarm, or something that could actually combat one of these assholes. While this explains how cartoon Riri can reach the gas and brake pedals, it does not explain how she can see over the dashboard. Also, as we're about to see, the streets are filled with boob walking around, but somehow Tip will be able to avoid all that business and not be seen driving around ever. Hello? Jesus Christ, we get it. Nobody likes O. But if he were this toxic, why didn't they just leave him at the last place?
You talk only because I'm not allowed to move. You are always saying the funny things.
Why is O the only one that consistently talks like this? I know he's supposed to be weird and offensive to the boob, but there's no reason why he always talks how we think an alien should talk, and the others just occasionally do it.
Parties are useless and take up valuable boob time.
What the f*** do these assholes do that require any time whatsoever? What the f*** are these things?
I shall send an e-bike to you so you can join later.
God damn it. It's like the screenwriters wanted to combine a fish out of water story with an alien story, using dialogue they think millennials actually use.
Your invite has been sent to entire galaxy. Our enemy, the Gorg, will receive it.
How? You mean the boob and the Gorg use the same emailing system or whatever the f***? This is just a lazy way to stir up conflict. And how many boob accidentally hit that send all button out of the billions of them? O can't be the only dumbass alien in their population, right? And you don't even have to be a dumbass to make this mistake.
You are fugitive boob. Initiating self-destruct.
No, why not just take him to jail instead of simply blowing up his ride? The abduction of the entire human race took a couple minutes, and the boob rounded everyone up with no problem. But they can't locate one of their own kind that's right next to them. Guess the little suction thing missed the spike when it considered all bikes useless, despite being out in the open. You know, for a girl that's trying to escape the alien hordes and find her mother, Tip sure is taking her sweet-ass time at this market.
Life form detected. Not human.
Motherfucker, if this is how these things operate, there'd be at least 1 million more people like Tip that were accidentally holding their pet. Dang, movie doesn't even alien right.
Gentle Boo, I want ideas.
The movie completely wastes a vocal performance from Steve Martin that's at least trying to go for it. He doesn't do many movies these days, people, so we need to make them count.
You are all invited to a party. Just head to the Milky Way. Turn right at the Big Dipper. Third planet from the sun.
If O's invite was intended for all the boo who are on Earth, then why the f*** did he include these directions? At first, the problem was explained to us that because O sent the invitation, the Gorg would be able to track them down just because of the signal or whatever. So why did everyone freak out at first if they didn't know what the invitation actually said? If O sends an invite that makes any sense, then it doesn't matter if the Gorg got it or not. Also, O didn't have the idea to send the e-bite out until he talked to Kyle at the crosswalk, which means he did a tremendous amount of recording and editing for this invitation within roughly 6 seconds.
I am putting you in charge.
Has anyone been in charge? I mean, O's just hanging out in the market that's nearby to where the chase began in the first place. We can't decide if these boobs are genius trackers or bumbling idiots. O repairs Tip's car in some kind of weird movie and Tip My Ride fashion. It takes up a lot of the movie's runtime. Tip seemed surprised at all the weird renovations, but what was she doing while he was taking all the stuff out?
Alright, back on the outer stinking out with you guys. Member shoutouts are Kevin Rankin and Carlos Murphy. Tonight, or today on the post game, I will talk about how hashtag Project RIP has begun.
Oh my god. I gotta get on that. Not like
timeline here.
I'm fine.
The same night
sounded
that Sheldon
fun.
and Rihanna escaped twice. Then the Grand Poobah ended world broadcast. Then
Anyway, I will tell you how I'm getting ripped at tytnetwork.com/show. So, and if we didn't get to some of those stories, I might touch on those too.
You just have
I like
pets
throwing in
for
stories in
fun
the post game now.
and
Okay.
companionship.
Rihanna's performance here makes
Christopher
her role in
Sotelo
Ship
writes in
better
on
than
#TYT Live. The professor's in the building!
This is a funny
And
gag.
he capitalized all of it, that's why I screamed it. By the way, let us note for the record that you have a very fun dress on.
Yeah, it's actually a romper.
This
Oh, okay,
gets security cam footage from the store.
There's a difference, but thank you.
That's the thing with the shorts.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
You
gotcha.
guys had to run the Statue of Liberty?
Thank you.
We're moving forward. I am Sock says, oh boy, so many children are going to have complexes over social media numbers in the near future. Not in the near future. Right now, it's already happening. I know people who are in the middle of it.
Are you concerned about your own kids?
Eventually, yes.
Are you going to be the cop that stops it?
I'm coming to their house. I got news for you because I'm already in their house.
Yeah.
Humor is it
So I don't know. I'm definitely not talking big because that put me in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Saw this
All
motherfucker
right.
rushing
Woke Poppy says Cenk is a woke dad.
There's a large bowl of lemonade.
Should I send the continued gross
Haas is woke bay. Am I woke baba?
Still toilets around.
Probably, yeah. But at least you're actually a baba. Whereas sometimes people call me a MILF, and I'm like, can you just wait until I have a kid first, and then go ahead and call me a MILF?
So funny.
Kyle not only isn't traveling with any other
Make me a
police to back up, he doesn't radio the in at all as soon as he sees the car.
Every time you lie, you
Well,
turn
that
green.
question can go to go with it. Anyway, last one. Angels Advocate says, you think racism is bad now? Wait till rich folks start correcting other traits. Okay, so for that. Okay, let's go forward.
I guess the booze didn't care
All
enough
right.
about that giant explosion at the gas station to actually send a unit from their
The
search
Keystone XL pipeline has
listening to
dealt
a
with a
debilitating
number of
sounding
obstacles, protesters, regulations, people who don't want the construction of the pipeline to continue. As you can remember, toward the end of the Obama administration, the TransCanada, which is the company, the corporation behind Keystone XL pipeline, did everything it could to get Obama to approve the permits for further construction. Obama said no. Trump comes in, he says yes, you can continue with construction. And now it turns out TransCanada had a call with investors, and he's like, yo, dog, like, I don't know what to do. Like, it turns out that the price of oil is pretty low, producing the oil is pretty high. Maybe it doesn't make sense to go through with this project after all. So low oil prices and the high cost of extracting Canadian crude from oil sands are casting new doubts on Keystone XL as executives with the Canadian company that wants to build it face the final regulatory hurdle next week in Nebraska. So keep in mind that Nebraska is the only state that hasn't approved it just yet, and that's because there are farmers in the state that are concerned about their crops. The pipeline would essentially go through their property, and it could be damaging, for their business, for their agriculture. And so TransCanada, a TransCanada executive, raised eyebrows in the energy industry last week when he suggested the pipeline developer doesn't know whether it will move forward with the project. So Paul Miller, an executive vice president who is overseeing the project, told an investor, Paul, that company officials won't decide until late November or early December whether to start construction. So just to give you an idea of how much things have changed since they began construction, crude oil was trading at around $49.50 a barrel of Wednesday this week, and that's down from the highs of more than $100 in 2014. So again, oil prices have dipped considerably, and they're like, we don't know about this anymore.
You like free markets? I like them free markets.
I can't wait to tell Mom I actually went to Paris.
Yeah,
On this immediate issue.
that story to the rest of the enslaved human
So
race.
the crude oil that comes from Canada is the most expensive kind of oil to extract. So they began these projects when oil prices were really high. And when oil prices are really high, then it's worth going through that expense to extract it. Now, it's also some of the dirtiest fossil fuel there is on the planet. There's more carbon that goes in the air because of this type of oil that's in Canada. It's not the only place that it's in, but Canada has a huge reservoir. And so if oil prices are high, then you're going to have a huge economic incentive. Let's just make up numbers here just to keep it simple.
There must be some other reason.
to get the oil out of the ground, but the oil's trading at $100. Well, even with the transportation and distribution and all that stuff, you're still going to have a healthy profit margin. But if now all of a sudden the prices are $50, well, that's the price extracted. It doesn't make sense to make it anymore.
Yes.
To go forward.
There's
Now,
low probability
one of
of
the reasons oil
success.
prices are going down is because there's lots of other sources of energy now, which didn't exist when we had incredibly high oil prices earlier on. So some of which existed but were at a much lower level, some are growing exponentially now. Keeping it real, it's not just renewable energy. Fracking is killing oil. And so fracking is a really interesting topic, and it's got big upsides and potentially much bigger downsides.
Over there!
Okay,
That's
but
where we
one
saw
of the
my mom!
upsides is that at least it's not, it brings down the price because there's more supply. So for real
Mothership will be here soon.
economists who understand what supply and demand is, unlike Rick Perry, who's like, supply and demand, that's, you see, the way that it works is that if you have more supply, you'll have more demand. No, that's not how it works at all. Anyway, now this is also great news for the future on a bigger scale, because fracking has a lot of downsides, but renewable energy does not have very many downsides, and it is also growing exponentially. And when it does, it becomes cheaper to make because you have advantages in technology that you can take advantage of. You have economies of scale that you can take advantage of. And so the bigger renewable energy gets, the lower its cost is.
I think.
And then it competes with
should be.
oil. And there's a certain point at which extracting crude oil no longer makes any economic sense. And
See, like, this is how a free market is supposed to work, right? Where you have competition from competing industries, a competing source of energy, and you don't have the oil industry or the coal industry or any industry having a monopoly on the way energy is produced in the United States, because that's what essentially has been happening for a very long period of time. You have lobbyists working for big oil, working with politicians, funding politicians in order to prevent any type of investment or funding toward renewable energies or other forms of energy. And so we've had crony capitalism in this regard for a very long time, and it's nice to see that even though we still have crony capitalism, there are forces that are fighting against it, and hopefully we can defeat some of the dirtier forms of energy that we're producing.
And if you guys say, well, okay, look then, guys, why don't you just let the free market decide? Coal, do all this stuff, and then maybe your renewable energy will win out in that. Well, so it is winning out right now, but there are also costs you're not taking into account. So when they take the fossil fuels out of the ground and then they don't pay the cost of the carbon that goes into the sky, and the carbon in the air is a cost that's borne by all of us. And so why do you get to privatize the gains and socialize the losses? So that's not free market either. So it's perfectly rational to say this in terms of the carbon cost of this crude oil is not worth it to Canada, the citizens of Canada, or America, or the world, and we're not going to do that. And then we would have said it's okay because renewable energy is going to come up anyway. And it turns out we were right. You didn't have to do this kind of fossil fuel, and all it did was hurt the planet, and they never properly paid for its cost.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a little bit of good news. We'll see how the story develops, because TransCanada will make a decision in regard to the Keystone XL pipeline in November. But it's not looking so good. As long as oil prices remain low, it seems like they're unlikely to continue with the project. All right, let's move on to other news.
Wouldn't have beat this movie to help him get it back.
The city of Baltimore has dropped dozens of drug-related cases after it was revealed that one cop was caught through his body cam footage planting drugs as evidence with one defendant. Now, it turns out that there is another video showing different cops in what appears to be a case where they are again planting drugs. Now, in this case, it has to do with a vehicle that was stopped after cops pulled this individual over. They searched the car, and they didn't find any drugs. Then they turned off their body cam, turned it back on, searched in the exact same area of the car, and then miraculously found drugs. As a result, the case against that defendant has been dropped. Her name is Shamir Collins. But I do want to show you guys the video so you can kind of judge for yourselves, and then I'll tell you how the police commissioner is sticking up for these cops, which is unbelievable. So instead of the first video, this is where they're searching the car, and it seems like they're having a hard time finding anything.
Okay. Got nothing so far.
Okay, so at that point, they turn off the body cam, and then here is the second video.
Do not hurt.
You wake up the 40 feet of blood out the clothes! Yes, it's what makes time travel possible.
Oh, I knew it. That's why they were freaking out. The weed smell right there. That's why they were freaking out. Oh, these are little vibes.
Okay, so here's my favorite parts of that. It's a terrible story, but the way they did it was almost amusing. They're like, oh, we couldn't find anything. Turn off the body cam. So they turn off the body camera, and then they plant it, and then I like how they're like, just standing around and goes, oh, did anybody check this part?
And he finds it immediately.
And he's like, oh, there it is. No, we were right all along.
Come on, man. What? You guys are wearing body cams. But here's the thing. I think some cops, not all, some cops are emboldened by the fact that a lot of police officers get away with a lot of really bad things.
Of course.
So like, I'm wearing a body cam. Who cares if I'm wearing a body cam? It's not like I'm going to face any consequences if I get caught or if anyone suspects that I'm planting this evidence. So look, here's the thing. Because of, the two separate cases that we've told you about on this show, these cops have been involved in a bunch of other cases. And any other case that they've been involved in has to be dropped because the credibility of these police officers is now up in the air. And just to give you a more broad perspective of what's going on in Baltimore, let's go to graphic 26A. Last summer, the U.S. Department of Justice issued a scathing report in which investigators said the police department engaged in widespread discriminatory and unconstitutional policing practices, particularly in poor, predominantly black neighborhoods. The city and the Justice Department later entered into a consent decree that mandates reforms and is in its early stages. Now, look, the planting of drugs is horrible, but to make matters worse, the police commissioner is completely defending these actions, which is frustrating to say the least. He had a press conference just yesterday where he addressed these videos, and here's what he had to say. His name is Kevin Davis. In both of these cases, it's no doubt that drugs were discovered and the recovery of those drugs were captured on body-worn cameras. There's no doubt that took place in either case. There's no doubt that probable cause existed for arrest. He's claiming that they need to do an investigation to figure out whether or not the cops were just simply reenacting them finding the drug. So,
yeah, sure, that's what was happening.
So he's making an argument that maybe they forgot to turn on their body cameras, and then they discovered the drugs with the cameras off, and then they're like, oh, wait, we want to make sure we catch this on camera, so let's reenact it.
Except we have video of them before they found any drugs with the body cameras on, so they had to actively turn it off. Okay, these are the most nonsense excuses you'll ever hear. So, look, let me give you a perspective you might not. If you're a progressive, you might not know this perspective. And if you're a conservative, I hear you. I was you. Okay, so let me just explain for folks. I grew up in a nice suburb. I was super lucky. And we generally didn't have problems with the cops. And we thought the cops were there to protect us. So I grew up thinking that cops don't lie. And there's a huge, and if you're progressive and you're black or you're poor, you might find that laughable, right? But there's a huge chunk of the country who thinks and was raised to believe cops don't lie and cops don't make up stuff. And why would a cop plant drugs? I remember having an argument with Steve-O now like 30 years ago, and he told a story about his friends had drugs planted on them. Like, why would the cops do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would they want to get into trouble? And you got to trust the cops until you find out the evidence. Now, it's not to say that all cops are bad. They're all planting drugs. Of course not. But by the way, if you have cops who are doing this, you should weed them out. Sorry for the pun. Okay, and get them off the force. Otherwise, you all lose credibility. And yes, if you've been taught to believe that cops never lie, wakey.
Right.
Of course they lie sometimes. Some of the cops do lie some of the times. That's why we have a justice system, and we don't just trust them.
Exactly. And just to, again, make a broader point about what's going on in Baltimore, police have sustained 14 administrative misconduct cases against officers based on body cam footage. And that's according to Davis, the guy who wants to protect these cops. One officer was indicted on criminal assault charges based on body camera footage. So, look, body cams are working to some extent, and I guess that's a good thing, finally. There have been some consequences for cops who are behaving poorly and not doing their jobs in a responsible way. But just to go back to your point about how some cops do lie, a story that, we didn't get to today was about a San Diego police officer who gave a citation to a man that he was accusing of sleeping in the bed of his truck, which is illegal, right? His body cam footage showed that he actually just came up to the guy as he was walking out of a public restroom.
He was just completely lying about it. And so if you're wondering why, generally laziness. And some places have quotas, and you got to make a number of arrests. And so, if I don't have something you're guilty of, I got to make sure that I don't get in trouble down at headquarters, so I'm going to arrest some people anyway. And who am I going to arrest? The powerless, so they don't mess with me. If I arrest the powerful, then I'm going to have consequences, especially if I'm lying or planting drugs on them. And a lot of the powerless, whether they're poor, African American, even middle class now, a lot of folks can't afford lawyers, can't afford to fight back. Those are the guys you pick on, right? And that's how it happens. All right, I love the body cameras. I'm so glad they're there because they do every once in a while catch the bad guys doing the wrong things. Okay, so let's go to the next story. I got the next one. Okay. So there's a story out about a cop in Louisiana who posted something horrific that I'm going to show you in a second. It is really kind of stomach churning. It's a cartoon, but it's not for kids. He is actually an assistant chief at Estherwood Police Department. He did wind up resigning on Tuesday. His name is Wayne Welsh. And on social media, he put out this cartoon. So it says, it's got a white mom putting her daughter's head into the bathtub, almost like drowning her. And it says, when your daughter's first crush is a little Negro boy. In other words, you kill your daughter if they like black tits, okay? So, look, we've seen a lot of violence in these clips and in different things, whether it's the police or others. But that, for whatever reason, shook me more than anything else. And obviously, it's deeply problematic if the cop thinks this is their opinion of black people. They hate them so much they'd kill their own kids if they thought they were going to date someone like a black person, okay? Now, he's going to say, of course, I was joking. That's a good joke? Mm-hmm. I mean, he goes, if you're not in that mind frame, would you ever send a cartoon like that? Oh my God, I'd be horrified. All right, anyway, so good point here by a Twitter follower. They say, cops, you shouldn't fear if you haven't done anything wrong. And he says this was done by a cop, right? And it's Black Aziz Ansari on Twitter. And his point being, no, sometimes they just don't like us. They have a vitriolic hatred of us, whether we did something wrong or we didn't do something wrong. So, and this is a good example. Now, how does Wayne Welsh justify it? He says, it's not against the law. What is this grammar, by the Jesus Christ? This guy is so stupid. Anyway, it's not against the law if you share stuff on Facebook. It's social media, internet. No. You're missing it, man. It's not that you've got your First Amendment right to hate black people. You're a cop, and you're supposed to be protecting the community. And in that community are white people and black people. If you view them as the enemy, well, I can't give you a gun and a badge and think that you're going to treat them equally because you're obviously not going to. He's like, well, I can. Not as a cop.
Look, if anyone wants to defend that and say that it's just a joke, it's not a big deal, have a little sense of humor. You have to at least admit that you have to be particularly dim to post something like that on a public forum, especially considering the atmosphere that we're dealing with right now, right? If you are a cop, it's pretty dumb to post something like that. And I don't think he's joking. I don't think it's cute.
Definitely
and I
not
don't
joking.
think it's
Listen to what
funny.
he just said next. Welsh's Facebook post also reportedly complained that critics were playing the, quote, race card, and that people were out to depict him as a bad guy. What the? We didn't bring up race. You brought up race, saying you would drown your daughter. Ha ha, I would drown my daughter if they were dating a black guy. Look, guys, you've got to step in their shoes for 1 second and think, my God, if someone hated you like that and they had a gun and a badge, wouldn't you be a little afraid of them too? This is a terrible attitude. Thank God he was fired or had to resign, and he's not on the force anymore. But this is atrocious and unfortunately happens far too often. All right, guys, we love you. We got a great post game coming up for you guys. Bye-bye.